Welcome to High Heels and Lipstick Conversation, the space where grown-ass women get real, get inspired, and get empowered. Where confidence meets class and real talk meets real women. Where we celebrate the power, resilience, and beauty of womanhood. I'm your host, Namia Carnice, your sister in style, success, and soulful conversation. This podcast is for my seasoned ladies, the women who've been there, done that, and still are stepping strong. From career moves to self-care, from relationships to reinvention, we keep it real, we keep it classy, and we always keep it fly. Now go grab your wine, your coffee, or your tea, because this is High Heels and Lipstick Conversation, and we got some grown woman talk to do. And don't forget to like, share, and hit the subscribe button. Let's go. Hey, y'all, let me get myself together. Good evening, good evening, good evening, and a good evening it is. Welcome to another episode of High Heels and Lipstick Conversation. I am your host, your girl, your good sis, Namia Carnice, and we are in for a very good conversation on this evening. I need you just to come on in and check in. I am sipping on me a little bit of wine on this evening. So please go and grab yourself a glass of wine. If you're not into wine, you don't have to, it's just me. I like a little glass of wine here and there. You may just want to get you some tea, something, some water, some water. I got my water too. But we are going to have a good conversation on this evening. Listen, if you have never checked into High Heels and Lipstick Conversations, this is your first time coming to High Heels and Lipstick Conversation with your girl, Namia Carnice, then this is just conversation that we have where we're just real, okay? It's real conversation. It's everyday woman conversation. It could be about life. It could be about love. It could be about healing. It could be about becoming. It could be about, career, anything. It's just real conversation that I try to bring at least once a month, coming just to have some conversations with your girl. Again, I'm Namia Carnice. I'm an author, okay? Which I'll tell you more about my books later, but I'm an author. I am a mom in love. I'm a wife. I'm a fun girl. I like to have a good time. I'm a Pisces, right? Yeah. So good to meet you if this is your first time checking in. The way that we check in is that we put, high heels in the emojis in the chat. We put lipsticks in the chat just to know that you are here and you're ready to have a conversation. If you're a brother that's checking in, because we do not discriminate, we don't, leave you out of the conversations, brother. So if you're a man checking in and you don't want to put them high heels and them lipsticks in the chat to check in, you could put you some fist in the air or something, or just say hi. Just let us know that you are tuned in. But we appreciate you for being here on this evening. That's my girl, Stephanie, my GG Stephanie. Thank you for checking in on this evening. That's my girl, Jamaica. All my GGs are here tonight. So thank y'all for checking in. This is going to be, a good conversation, but a heavy conversation. But before we get into the conversation, I really need y'all to like, subscribe, and share. Okay. So I am just trying to grow a little bit, kind of grow the brand a little bit. And the way that I do that, if y'all help me to just, kind of engage and have an engaging and a bigger audience. So like, subscribe, share. And that helps YouTube. If you're checking in on YouTube, that helps YouTube to know that I'm here. And if you're on Facebook, please just, kindly share the live so other people can get in on this conversation on this evening. Okay. So where are we at? Okay. Yes. Keep checking in the chat. We want you to be a part of this conversation, but tonight is a heavy conversation, and I'm going to begin this conversation before we bring up our guests, because I got somebody that's going to help me have some of this conversation. And I'm just speaking to my ladies. I'm just going to speak to my ladies right now. So this is the conversation that I would just want to start with just posing a question out there. And we got some male representation today. So Mark, my guest, who's going to join us and give us some Black male perspective about our topic today, because I think it's always needed and necessary. But this question right here is for my lady specifically, and it says, as a woman, do you actually feel protected in your life, or have you just learned how to survive without it? So that's a heavy question in itself. Even if you don't answer it and you don't put your put anything in the chat, and I'm going to pose the question again at some point later, but just think about it. Do you as a woman feel protected? Okay. Or have you just learned to survive? And I'm asking that question for a very specific reason. One, because I'm a Black woman and I know the answer to that for a lot of Black women. But I just want you to think on it, ponder it, and we're going to come back to that question later in our conversation. Okay. Again, it's a heavy conversation. So the status of Black women and who's protecting us. And I think this conversation is important. It's timely because there is an uprise, an uptick in Black women being unalived, in specifically what we call intimate partner relationships. Okay. This is not to say that other races of women are not being impacted, unalived by intimate partner relationships. But as of late, what we are seeing that is scary for many of us as Black women is an uptick and an uprise in Black women specifically being unalived by their partners. And so that's why we're here today. I always, if this is your first time checking in, I'm always going to bring an educational component to these conversations. April is not Domestic Violence Awareness Month, but given what we have seen that's gone viral, some of these cases that have gone viral and have sparked a lot of conversation, we always got to take a moment. Domestic violence, that is my passion. That has been ministry for me, especially in my younger years. And so I'm always going to bring a level of awareness. But let me just start off with giving you some facts, because this is going to set the tone and set the conversation, set the tone for the conversation this evening. Let me share a couple facts for you. Okay, so here's a couple of DV facts. These are some key statistics about homicide and femicide, okay? And homicide is obviously when someone unalives you. Femicide puts just the angle of that it is a female, okay? And they're being unalived by their intimate partner, okay? So Black women are 2.5 to 3 times more likely to be killed, unalived, I got to say unalived for YouTube, by men compared to white women. So we are 3 times more likely than our white women counterparts to be unalived by a partner, an intimate partner, somebody we knew, a baby daddy, your husband. I'm not saying y'all specifically, but a husband, someone that we're dealing with, a stalker, someone who liked us, but we didn't give them no play. 3 times more likely to be killed by, unfortunately, men compared to white women, okay? According to the CDC and the Center for Disease Control and Prevention and Violence Policy Center, homicide is a leading cause of death for Black women ages 15 to 44, okay? Now, this also takes in consideration the sex trafficking trade, the ex trafficking trade. I got to watch my words with YouTube, but it takes in consideration the younger population of girls who are being trafficked, okay? But a lot of those women, those young women who are being trafficked, they end up unalive, and then all the way up to the age of 44, where it's typically in that age range, typically somebody that we know we have an intimate relationship with, okay? The majority of these are committed by someone the victim knows, an intimate partner. Okay, so that's just some facts to start us off with. Um, and it's serious, right? It's a serious thing for us as Black women. I will say this: I don't know too many women, Black women specifically, who has not encountered some form of abuse by the hands of a man. Okay. That's not to say that I don't have a circle of friends who have never experienced that, but for the most part, the women that I know have experienced by some form of abuse, mental, physical, um, financial, so on and so forth, at some point in their life. It may have been in their younger years. For me, when I had my experience, it was in my younger years, inexperienced, naive, in a relationship, and it was very toxic and violent, so on and so forth. I healed, I grew from it, and I'm all peace and all joy today. But that story is true for a lot of Black women. We have experienced that. And so what we're going to talk about, I'm going to do a brief overview of a couple cases, and then I'm going to bring my friend Mark to help me have this conversation. And, we're going to get down to it and talk about it. So one of the first cases, there has been an uptick, especially in April alone, where these cases have gone viral. So one particular case is Nancy Meteor Bowen. And this case refers to a fatal shooting of a Coral Springs vice mayor in her Florida home on March 31st. Her husband, Stephen Bowen, is the sole suspect and was charged with first-degree premeditated and tampering with physical evidence after allegedly confessing to the crime to a family member. So this is Nancy, a Black woman. Okay, this just happened at the end of March. That case has brought a lot of community impact. It's gruesome in that the husband, after he unalived his wife, he slept downstairs with the body still upstairs. And so that is the Nancy Bowen case. Dr. Serena Fairfax is a tragic murder-suicide involving her husband, former Virginia Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. On April 16th, police found both deceased in their home in Virginia. Authorities determined that Justin Fairfax shot Serena before turning the weapon on himself while his two teenage children were inside. This couple was going through a very contentious divorce that began last year, July of 2025. They were separated. There was a custody ruling where the wife got awarded primary custody of the children. The husband had to be out by a specific time, and he was triggered, and it launched, him unaliving his wife. And so some of the things that have come out of that case is a lot about centered around Black men and their mental health, which we're going to talk about at some point in our conversation. The last case that we're going to center on, this isn't the last case. I got about 6 cases I want to talk about, but I'm going to slow walk this conversation a little bit. We can't fast talk this one because this is an important one. But the last case was we said Dr. Serena Fairfax. She was a graduate of Duke University, so she was well-to-do. She had a dental practice, and so women of prominence. I'm gonna hold there, okay, and talk about it. So this person, Mark, is a friend of the show. He's been on High Heels and Lipstick Conversations before. And so I couldn't imagine having this conversation with anyone else except for Mark, just because I respect his perspective. And, sometimes we banter, we go back and forth. And I got some ish to say tonight about some of these cases. And so my brother Mark is here to help me have that conversation. Y'all give a warm welcome to Mark E.B. Hey, Mark, what's up?
What's going on? Hey, what's going on, lady? How you doing?
How you doing? How you doing? You well rested? You
I am.
ready?
I
You
am.
well rested and ready?
I am. I'm ready to get into this conversation. This is very important.
It is. It's an important conversation. And listen, I don't want this to you know me. We know each other. Um we don't always agree, and we we
Mhm.
definitely are two people that voice our opinion,
Mhm.
and we have not agreed on a lot of stuff, and there's some stuff we probably ain't gonna agree on tonight, okay?
Right. Right.
But I don't want people to see this as a back and forth where it's a black man versus a black woman, conversation,
Right.
or some of the stuff that you see on social media, because it's not that. um it
Mhm.
is conversation where we just have different perspectives, because you're a man and I'm a woman, okay?
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
we see the world, we experience the world in some similar ways, but we also experience it differently. So
Yes.
that's how we gonna set the floor for that conversation. But I
Yeah.
want to start here by just asking Mark, what is your reaction to some of the cases that we have seen that have gone viral,
Mhm.
that directly impact Black women from your perspective? I don't want to get what your response. We're gonna get into some of how, the nitty gritty of you and how you feel as a Black man. But what is your initial, just
Mhm.
kind of like, response to the uptick of seeing these cases go viral and just have a lot of impact on the community?
Yeah. At first, I didn't want to believe that there was an uptick, right?
Hmm.
So of course, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna do my Googles and I'm gonna,
Yep.
do my
Yep.
research. And sure enough, there's a uptick in crime overall,
Yep.
especially violent crime overall. But
Hmm.
there is a serious uptick in domestic violence, and as it pertains to Black women, definitely.
Yeah. In our
Um,
community.
yeah, it's like nobody has the answers at this point. I think
Yeah.
it started during the pandemic.
Yeah.
People being forced to be in
It
the house
was.
with one another. We found out we really didn't like each other like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then it kind of it once we got back to work, it went down, but it you didn't really get a chance to settle. It didn't get a chance to settle down. I think you think about different kind of pressures like economic uh, frailty. You think about
Yeah.
you know we're at war right now. There's a whole bunch of different societal factors. Who we got in the White House. I think a
Mm,
lot of stuff.
mm, yeah.
It especially that in particular. The fool we got in the White House has emboldened a lot of misogyny and a lot of the mindset of um, you don't have to strive to be a good man or a perfect man in order to be successful,
Yeah.
right? And that's
I'm gonna
dangerous
just
to
flat
me.
out say what I
Hmm.
see, and maybe it's a remnant of, because of who we have in the White House, and like you said, he emboldened it.
Hmm.
What's disheartening, two things for me in that. What's disheartening is that m- men are seeing this as a retribution.
Hmm.
And we'll get to the Black man's response later, but that a lot of Black men don't understand that the patriarchy and the misogyny that you're following is white supremacy, and
Yeah.
you're taking on their talking points, their
Hmm.
viewpoints, and all that. And at the
It
end of the
doesn't
day,
benefit you.
it
It
doesn't
does.
benefit you
It was
as a
never
Black
meant
man.
to benefit you.
It was
Yeah.
it, it was never meant to benefit you. Yeah.
And we'll get into. I want people to put a pin in that also, because when we talk about um, patriarchy and how that fits into our relationship between Black men and Black women, the mindset that some brothers have that we're supposed to compare our relationship to white couples relationships, and that's the goal. Um, that that also affects a lot of black women, a lot, especially younger black women, in
Hmm.
this wanting to have this movement that they're trying to push on y'all, talking about having a soft life, or the other term is
The soft girl
the
life, the soft girl era.
divester. No,
Oh,
divester movement.
divester. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And now I think that when we have a term and you have a little bit of knowledge, that's when you become dangerous, because
yeah.
it sounds good with this little bit of knowledge that you this term sound, oh, that sounds really really smart, until you start digging into it and digging into how anti-black that mindset is.
It
And I think
is.
that
It is.
a lot of men who compare their what they deem as success to white men, and a lot of black girls who compare what they deem as success, even when it comes to the family, to white women, and the amount of anti-blackness that pours into that mindset. I think that affects a lot of people's thought process, and it
Yeah.
could be part of what's driving up this uptick in a mindset of, do what I tell you to do, or else, or I get to determine what you say. It's your body, my choice type of mindset. You
And
know what I
you
mean?
know what I see from my perspective, I don't know if it's as much as that, as I see a uptick in just women just are not valuable. Like men, they don't trust us.
Mhm.
Everything we do is evil. We're seen as evil. Um, Black women who are educated are seen as evil and masculine. I mean, it's just there just seems like it's scary. I'll just say
Mhm.
it's scary to see and to view men who have that much disdain specifically for black men. And that's why I pose the question, who's protecting us, right? Because we
Yeah.
have this loyalty to black men,
Hmm.
but can we trust them to protect us is what a lot of us are questioning. Now, I know my is mute for me because I got a husband who I know don't play about me, but
Right.
there,
Right.
but
Right.
I
Right.
ain't always been married, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I feel to go to the question that we asked earlier, that a lot of us as women have lived in a life in such a way that we have learned to survive.
Yeah.
Black women in
It's
particular,
coping.
we are survivors. Some of
Hmm.
us grew up in the hood. Now, that's not to say that some of our girls, didn't grow up two-parent homes, so on and so forth
Hmm.
and so forth. I'm not knocking women who grew up with a level, I wouldn't, middle age, I mean middle
Middle
income
class.
parents, so
Hmm.
on and so forth. Not all of
Yeah.
us had that,
Right.
right? And so we learned to be tough, to be tough girls. we,
Yeah.
we, we
Yeah.
hung in the hood.
I even think that affects how we viewed masculinity, right?
Yeah,
Because we grew up in the same little town, and the mindset that we had, I'll say 80s, 90s, right?
yeah,
What they viewed as masculine then is highly toxic now, right?
yeah.
But they're
They don't
still
like
young
that term
girls.
toxic masculinity because masculinity is not toxic.
I think that is the term toxic masculinity is fine if there is a toxic femininity. I think that's
And
where the
there
problem
is.
comes in. Yeah,
Yeah.
the problem comes in. People will acknowledge, even men will acknowledge toxic masculinity. But then when we talk about the toxicity that some women have in their femininity, to use an example, women who have a mindset that men are supposed to provide before we become husbands, but you're not
And
supposed to. Yeah,
she looking for the
yeah. Before
bag
she,
on the first
yeah,
date.
like yeah, like you have, as a guy, you have things that you're responsible for, but as a woman, I'm not your wife yet, so I don't have to blah 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 blah. Like there's a toxic, or just the mindset of I can do whatever I want to do to this man, and he's not supposed to do anything to me because
He's
I'm
not
a
supposed
female.
to. I can
I can
provoke him,
smack
and
him in
he's
the
not.
face. I can spit in his. I can kick him in ding dong. I can do whatever I want to do, and he's not supposed to do anything to me because I'm a female, right?
Yeah,
That so I think the term of toxic masculinity is fine if we acknowledge that there's toxic femininity also.
yeah. So to stay on track with some of these cases. So the other case that happened this past April or in the month of April is Tammy McCullen. She was 58
Mhm.
years old, a pastor at the Well Worship Center in Stateville, North Carolina. She was an employee of Ulta Beauty in Charlotte. Her husband, Eddie McCullen, 61, he was a teacher assistant at a local middle school. Early morning on April 6th, at the couple's home on Carrington Court, um, Eddie came and he unalived his wife,
Mhm.
stating, and he told where the gun was, and she was pronounced dead at the scene. And a lot surrounding this case is questioning again the mental health piece, Black men not getting the support that they need. I gotta push back on that as well. But a lot that's surrounding all of these cases that we're talking about, the go-to for most of these cases, for these Black women who were wives,
Mhm.
had husbands, children, built a family, these are Black men, their husbands that have unalived them. And so it is,
Yep.
again, brother, it is scary for us, especially because there's a direct impact in terms of how domestic violence, um, intimate partner violence impacts
Mhm.
us from a disparate impact perspective as Black women. Sometimes people don't believe us.
Yeah.
It's often said, what did she do to provoke it?
Mhm.
In most of these cases, these women probably have been suffering from domestic violence at the hands of their husbands for a very long time. It just came to a
Mhm.
head. Okay.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things that impact us as Black women. People don't believe us. It's the healthcare system. We don't always get the care or the resources that we need to be able to get out of these situations. There's a lot that systemically impacts us as Black women.
Mhm.
But the excuse I think that we hear and that Black women are hearing specifically is that it's being automatically pegged as these Black men had mental health issues. When what it really just feels like is y'all motherfuckers is violent.
Well,
Y'all
I
got
tell you, so
issues.
they were married 30
And we
years.
can't. Yeah.
Yeah, they were married 30 years. The Pastor McCullum and her husband, they were married 30 years. The other one that you brought, Doctor, because I looked these up, Doctor
Serena
Serena
Fairfax.
Fairfax.
Yeah.
They were married 20 years. So we're
Yeah.
not talking about people that were new in the game, right? We're talking
Oh,
about people
yeah.
who have been
Yeah.
married
It
for
makes
years.
it even more
Some,
tragic. Y'all build a
yeah,
family.
sometimes it's people have mental health issues. Sometimes that is the truth, and sometimes people just don't know how to be angry. Sometimes people don't know how to contain their emotions, right? And that the prison is full of them too. So
Yeah.
I'm not quick to whether it's a male or a female to put them in the bag of having a mental health breakdown, right?
Uh-huh.
If because that can be said anytime somebody gets mad. I think
Yeah.
that this one in particular, I don't know all the details about what all was happening surrounding it, but I
With
think
Pastor
that
McCullough.
yeah, with Pastor
Yeah.
McCullum, I
Yeah.
think there's a lot less people have people having mental health issues, and a lot
Mental.
more people just not knowing how to deal with
That's
disappointment
true.
or anger.
But for this conversation, let's just call a thing, okay?
Mhm.
Black men are not
Mhm.
getting the mental health support that they need. And I'm gonna be honest because I look at everything from a spiritual eye, okay?
Mhm.
I have to. That's just how I'm wired. And so I'm a believer in the Bible. I believe what the Bible says.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about the uptick in violence that I see, men on women in particular, and because I'm black, of course a black woman, I'm going to pay attention to us as black women, right?
First and
And the
foremost, yeah.
violence that we see that is increasing for us. And it reminds me of the scripture in 2 Timothy 3, but it reminds me of scripture. I'm gonna get it before we get off of here.
Mm-hmm.
But that talks about in the last days that we're going to see um men, and it could have been dressing men and women, because this isn't just specific to men, but
Yeah.
um men in particular preying on the vulnerable and weak. And who are the
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable and who are the weak? Is women, it's children, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we see an uptick in trafficking and it just feels as if for us, and I'm just not going to call it a black woman thing. It just feels a lot as if women are just often the prey in certain situations, in certain environments, so on and so forth. And so it's a very scary time for us. That I say all that to say it's a very scary time. And these women in
Mm-hmm.
particular were married to these men. So if it's hard enough to trust folks outside. You can't even trust what's in your own home that you sleep in the bed with every night. It's just that scary sometimes. And so how
Yeah.
much does mental health really play a part in that? And how much are we just seeing the signs of the times?
Well, the reason why I'm not quick to shove it off on mental health issues is because black men have never gotten the mental health care that we've needed ever.
Mhm.
And somehow we were able to not unalive you all for years and years and years
Mhm.
post slavery and during slavery. So I don't put it on having mental health issues, because I don't think that God makes brand new people with different broken brains than He made,
Yeah.
just 10 years ago. I do think that it has more to do with environment, what's going on around us, and everything else. That is not to like give a defense, of course. That's just explaining why I think it may be happening. But there's there's you have brothers that are towing the line, who are loving on black women unapologetically and openly, and it seems as a black guy
Mhm.
that that they that the kind of energy they get is like almost like they're a unicorn. Like it's them, like it's them and it's nobody else. Like everybody else sucks, but these guys here are great.
Mhm.
And I'm speaking of Kevin Fredericks, Kev on stage, the people out there, and Sterling K. Brown. Love their
Uh-huh.
marriages, love how
Yeah.
they love their wives openly, and they're very expressive with it. But they're not the only ones, right? And
They
I'm
aren't.
only
Yeah.
saying that
Yeah.
because when we acknowledge that they're not the only ones, then we don't continue the narrative that men ain't ish.
Yeah.
We say that maybe I have either attracted some that ain't ish, or maybe I don't see the ones that are ish, and maybe I
Maybe we
can
ignore the
change
red
that.
flags.
That
Yeah.
look. So one of the people that we're gonna get into today, when I looked at his mugshot, I said, "Come on now, like, come on now,
Look like he
come on,
been
sis." You
robbing.
know what I'm saying? Like, come on, sis, come on now. Like, there's certain cats that they come with a rap sheet, and he had every look like, yeah, he had something
Okay,
wrong with
but
him in the first
okay, I get what you're saying. So yes, women, and I say this, listen, I preach to women the way that I have learned, right?
place. Hmm.
Um and I try not to be too preachy, but it's in me,
Yeah.
I'm
Right. Right. Right.
a,
Right.
I'm a church girl, okay? But
Yeah.
So I say all the time that sometimes we're responsible for the men that we have chose. So the men that I
Mhm.
chose that did not treat me good, did not treat me well, I'm responsible. I take accountability. I didn't choose right. I didn't have wisdom. I was naive. I was all the things, right? And then I
Mhm.
learned, I healed, licked those wounds, well, took accountability and, you know, tried to make better choices as I got
Mhm.
older. But sometimes saying that to us that we need to choose better feels like a scapegoat, bro.
And sometimes it is.
Yeah,
Sometimes we're not acknowledging the fact that this dude was just on some BS,
yeah,
and
he was
it didn't
just
matter that
guilty.
she chose.
Where's his accountability?
Yeah. It. I think that the podcast bros are kind of responsible for this mindset of
Yeah,
defending yourself before
absolutely.
you take in everything that's being said, right? So when we hear about something that, like, say, a black man has done that we don't like or that we consider bad, before we get into, man, that's messed up, he should have never done that. Well, what did she do, or what did she say to
Mhm.
him, or what has he done that before? Why she stay around with her? Why we
I
get
bet you
into
see,
all of
I
that?
see some horrendous stuff.
Yeah. It ain't even like it's like I'll make jokes, right? Not at the
Mhm.
expense of something crazy like that, but I'll make some jokes about things that, like I did earlier, like the dude's mugshot. Look, come on, if y'all, when we get to him, I'm gonna tell you who it is, and I'm gonna tell you to look up his mugshot, and
Yes,
you're gonna feel the
yes.
exact same way. But when it
And I
comes
do got
to,
pictures of these ladies. Yeah.
yeah,
So
and
we
they
we
and
did
they should be.
Pastor McCullen there. We're going to talk
Uh-huh.
about Barbara Deer later. That is
Yep.
Nancy, and that's Dr. Serena.
Mhm.
These women were, these one the low level women. We sometimes
Nope.
with domestic
High
violence we put a
performing, highly
stigma.
educated.
Yeah, highly educated. Sometimes we put a stigma on domestic violence, right? We
We
think
do. Yep.
it's just the uneducated. It's the it's the poor
But that doesn't even
community.
come from our community when that happens.
Yeah,
It, we
no,
don't we don't do that. So
yeah.
when you see somebody assuming that, oh, this is some hood chick that got her head kicked in, that never comes from within the community. That comes from outside of the community, and it goes into the community, and then it might filter over to the podcast bros, but it didn't
And
start in our community.
the social media bros that got they got a whole lot to say online, but they quiet
Yeah,
as a mouse and look
church
like
mouth,
with a
pissing on
receding
cotton.
headline
Yep,
and a
yep.
belly this big behind the scenes.
Definitely. You know what I mean? Yeah, definitely. None of these women deserved to be unalived. That's the floor, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's where we begin the conversation. After that, it's what could we have done to prevent this from happening. That's when we get into, okay, not assigning blame, but how did we get here? What made this
Yeah, the
happen? Now,
root
we
cause. Yeah,
us folks in Gary, we have our own situation. I don't even, if you can speak to the name, we got our own situation like that that's going on. That
yeah,
many of us knew the person and know the goings on behind it, and we want
yeah.
to see justice happen. So it's not like this subject matter doesn't touch each and every one of us. It
It
does.
definitely
That's
touches.
somebody's
I'm glad
mama.
you said
That's
that.
somebody's
Yeah,
sister.
yeah, this is personal, right? Personal
Right.
for us, personal for me, because we have seen a case of this. Like these people that's on the sheet that I'm spitting off facts, we don't know them personally. They're in
Hmm.
the Carolinas and other places.
Yep.
But we have seen cases like this up close and personal. That we, the facts got to come out, just like the rest
Yep.
of these cases. The facts got to come out. It has to evolve.
Yep.
But right now, as we talk about the social media narrative that has been painted, it has all
Mhm.
been painted as Black men need to get mental health support. Black men are not getting the support that they need as it relates to mental health, so on and so
Yeah.
forth. So that's one narrative. Of course, you got the podcast bros, the social media bros that talk big behind the scene that may have other narratives to spin. But for the most
Yeah.
part, what I have seen that these cases have really impacted the community, and
Yeah.
there were red flags in probably
Hmm.
all of these cases, and it's just a sad case to see these women who were beautiful, accomplished, educated. Um,
Hmm.
they died by the hands of a husband, a person that they knew. And that's a very real and a very scary thing. And that's the reason why we're having this conversation, because we have to bring
Hmm.
awareness, right?
Yeah.
And again, we got to call a thing a thing. I just think it is
Hmm.
just progressing evil times that we are navigating.
Yeah, because there's crime, there's an uptick in crime overall.
Yeah,
There even an uptick in crime for women. That
yeah,
not even about domestic situations, but just women are experiencing an uptick in crime that
yeah,
they're perpetrating themselves. So it's a time period that we're in, and I'm if I had to put money on it, I would lay my money on the fact that that corporate that companies are making so much and people are making so little. And I think that it gets to a fever pitch where there's only so much that or so much that people can take, where you're going to continue to increase what we have to pay. The cost of living is through the roof. We can't buy houses, we can't
yeah,
buy groceries and stuff like that, and then you're going to pay us a small minuscule amount of money compared to how much money you're making, and you're going to pocket not millions
yeah,
but billions, and flaunt it in our faces. There's only so much I think that human beings can take before the
yeah.
whole thing
And and
crashes.
if we look at some of these cases, in the men's case where their divorce is happening, separation is happening, and the wife, probably because she has experienced abuse along the way, but she
Hmm.
no longer wants to be with you. She's taking the kids, she's gonna get child support. All of those things can really drive a man. I mean, you can speak on it better than I can, but can probably
Yeah,
really pull at a man's mental, knowing that
it
they've been with this woman 20, 30 years, and now, you know, they're gonna
look.
barely have enough to live on for themselves.
I'll tell you sometimes women can be cruel in that courtroom, man. Like it can be like I think it's because we're bigger and physically stronger and stuff like that. And when you have power behind you, like for the first time, and it's not just having power, but you got lawyers telling you, hey, you can get this, you can get that. He over there probably living his best life while you blah blah blah. Like, yeah, he is over there living his best life. Let me get some of them dividends. Okay, now you're you're motivated to do harm to that person, right? So there's some
Or
cases that, and this isn't every case. I'm sick because other cases there's dudes that sitting there hiding money in their sock. You know what I mean? So
right,
it cuts both ways. But I'm saying that when it comes to a dude snapping because of court cases where it comes to
yeah,
divorce, something like that, there there's no justification. I
right.
mean, and I hate prefacing. I hate prefacing. I can't stand it. That's probably why I'm moving around so much. I hate prefacing. But there's there's a push for cruelty for women in the court system against men, especially when it's minorities, especially when it's a black man. They incentivize women to not just get what you should have, but to completely deplete this
Decimate a
person.
man.
Yeah, and destroy him, and now you can get your aha out. He cheated on you, so now you can empty his pockets and get his car repoed and get his job taken from him and take the kids too. The only other people who was telling him that they love him and making him feel like it. So there's and they really incentivize black women to be like horrible in the courtroom
Listen,
if they can.
if I didn't put 20, 30 years into you, I was with you when you was in the booth. I was out there on
Yeah,
the court shooting
and you
hoops.
deserve it.
Okay. For
Yeah, yeah,
and I'm listen. You don't get to
and you
just walk
deserve
away with
fairness.
Miss
Nope.
Shirley meet Barbara and get you some.
Yeah,
You don't just
you
get to
don't, you don't,
you don't
and
just
it
get
should
to
be
walk away from
fair.
these 20, 30 years. Leave me with these kids and what we didn't
You're
build,
right.
and I gotta go live in a 2 bedroom apartment with these kids
Yeah.
and go through the
Here's the thing
embarrassment
though.
and the shame. You don't get to just walk away and not me
You
hit your
don't.
pockets.
It should be fair, but the thing that a lot of times in these situations, in these highly contested situations, that women in them don't think about is those kids still have visitation. So you can put him in the poorhouse if you want to. Them kids gonna be going over to the poorhouse to see daddy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
yeah,
and the rats gonna bite them just like they biting your ex. You know what I mean? So
right.
you might want to taper that energy just a little, just for the sake of, okay, if he's doing okay and I'm doing okay, the kids are gonna be doing okay. But if I'm
Yeah,
doing great and he's doing horrible, then the kids ain't gonna be doing great.
yeah,
That's not the equation. Like that
yeah.
doesn't equal that.
We would hope that would be the response. But
Yeah.
I Mina said something earlier that it's a lack of emotional control. Um,
Yes.
and
On the men's part.
unfortunately, yeah, unfortunately, that kind of um situation that evokes that level of emotion. You didn't spend all this time with a person.
Yeah.
And by no means am I justifying the man's behavior, but just thinking about it from a psychological standpoint, and from being a man, and that kind of heavy, intense stress whatsoever. I think in the Dr. Serena case, he was just miserable as fuck. Like,
Yeah.
he had
Yeah.
lost the election.
Hmm.
Um,
It was all
and
down here for
it was all downhill. So he was just in a
him. Yeah.
miserable space. And so that amount of stress, I'm sure, could be triggering, right?
It
As a
can
man,
be.
when you're full of this testosterone and you don't have no
Yeah.
emotional intelligence,
Well,
emotional control.
men
But
aren't
we
really men
need
are.
our men, our black men, to
Yeah.
make sure that they are teaching our young brothers how to have emotional control, because a lot of what we
Yeah.
are seeing, even just in the case, there was a case of um oh, and this is a horrible case. We didn't even include this, but I think his name is David, or he's a singer. He ain't in our generation, so I don't know all these
Oh yeah,
other
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I heard
and he
about
ended
that.
up
Yep.
unaliving a young Latina girl. She was like 14 years old. He stuffed her in the car
Yeah.
and rode around with her body in a car for 4 months. Like,
Yeah.
who's teaching these young men how to
That's
control
not.
themselves?
Yeah. That's not even emotional control. That's a mental break there.
That's
It's just like if
demonic.
you remember, maybe about this had to be before the pandemic. There was a lady in Detroit who unalived two of her children. She had three children, unalived two of them, and stuffed them in a freezer and kept them there in her house, a deep freezer. Kept them in the house because they because they had abused the youngest child. Well,
Wow.
and there's cases like that happen because unfortunately, there's not a litmus test on people whether they should have a kid or not. You just, if you got the plumbing and it works, then you get to have a kid. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
so because of that, I don't I don't want, when you see these extreme cases, for people to overreach and think that there is this pandemic that's happening of some. There's an uptick. There's an uptick in
There is
all
an
crime. So I don't
uptick.
want to.
We
So
can't
I'm not
ignore
diminishing
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not diminishing it, but I don't want this, because there's going to be the men ain't ish chicks that are all they waiting for stuff like this to happen so they can say, see, I told you. And the
Yeah.
ones that are like specifically towards black men, they're even more excited. But understand that there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than just somebody having a mental breakdown. It's something.
Yeah.
There's mental breakdowns. Then there's people who lack emotional discipline.
Yeah.
Just because I'm
Absolutely.
mad doesn't mean I get to flip the table over, right?
Yeah.
Just because I'm upset doesn't mean I punch a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to learn how to decompress,
Yeah.
and men don't really get the freedom to be emotional
Uh-huh.
when it comes to disappointment and stuff like that. I think, like if I'll use this as an example. when, like, say you're at a bar and you see two women fighting because somebody's like, she was looking at me all crazy, like blah 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 blah. She was looking at my man, or blah 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 blah. I've been a bouncer, so I've seen this happen, right?
Uh-huh.
Usually, you separate the women, you kick them out, and then they go on about their business. Two guys fighting,
It's different.
police get called, somebody goes to jail, and there's reason, men are physically stronger. There's destruction there,
Mhm.
but when it comes to uh, a man being free to, or having the excuse of, I was upset, so I did this. Men don't typically get that. We're expected to have emotional discipline. That's why it's so wild to see these instances that are happening where, okay, she doesn't want you no more, move on. Like, you don't
Yeah,
have to
it's okay
unalive
to leave,
somebody.
bro. Gone.
Yeah, yeah, like, but in this, by the same token, we'll laugh at the, I'll bust your window out the car. Somebody just talked about Angela Bassett, Angela Bassett on Wait to Exhale. Like,
Burning this
those
shit
are,
down.
yeah,
You hear me?
those are
This shit
acceptable
get burnt.
crash outs. Yeah, yeah, those are acceptable crash outs. Not because, like, he did something extra super crazy. She was upset. Okay, she shouldn't go to jail behind that. He shouldn't have did what he did. That's the mindset. Guys
That's the
don't,
mind.
and that's what I mean. Guys don't typically get that carte blanche to, because I'm emotional, I can do this, that, and the other. We supposed to keep it tight. That's our role. I'm not
Yeah,
even arguing against that. We're supposed to show emotional discipline. That's
yeah,
that's the thing that we have to teach our sons, and it
yeah,
starts when they're kids. You have
yeah.
to teach your sons that just because they're mad, they don't get to not do the dishes.
Right.
Just because they're mad, they don't get to throw their toy across the room.
Or they
There's
don't get to
they
punch the
have to
wall. Yeah,
they have to learn emotional discipline, that you can be mad and you can channel that anger into something, but you don't get to do whatever you want to do just because you're angry.
yeah.
And when you don't teach them these things, you get results like what we're getting now.
Yeah, that's a good opportunity for us to kind of share some more domestic violence facts. So intimate partner violence, more than 4 in 10 Black women, that means 40%, experience physical violence from an intimate partner in their lifetime. Black women experience higher rates of severe physical violence compared to other racial groups. 1 in 5 Black women are survivors in rape. We got to be careful of our words because
Mm-hmm.
of YouTube. And who's the
Yep.
most at risk? We already said women, Black women ages 18 to 34 are at the highest risk. A lot of them
Mm-hmm.
involve, a lot of these cases involve current partner. They involve a weapon of some sort and a history of abuse that escalated. And
Mm-hmm.
then just one last fact is that, again, we mentioned this earlier, that Black women are less likely to be believed or protected when reporting abuse. They're more
Mm-hmm.
likely to face barriers to resources, whether that's housing, legal support, safe shelter. Media coverage is often unequal. We don't get the same kind of time in front of the media,
Mm-hmm.
um, and the attention is not sustained. And so we're seeing an uptick and it's gone viral and so on and so forth. But, you know,
Yeah, that's not
it is
typical.
what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so let's segue. We want to talk about a couple of these other cases. I'm going to pose a
Mhm.
question to the chat. I want to let the chat answer. This is something that I want
Mhm.
your engagement on. But how does protection from Black men look for Black women? How does let's think about that. Put it in the chat.
Mhm.
You have an answer to share in the chat. Please share your thoughts in the chat. But what does protection from Black men look for Black women? Because the reason why I pose that question is that we all know statistically that by and large, Black men, Black women, they partner with, marry. This is not to say those women who have not divested, because we're going to talk about divestment coming up in some of these other cases. where women
Mm-hmm.
have chosen to divest, and divest means that they have decided. Black women have
Mm-hmm.
a black woman, when she divests, it means she's decided she's no longer interested in dating, marrying, partnering with black men for whatever reason. So there are a segment of women who have decided either to divest or to diversify their dating pool. Now, I ain't too mad at that. If you're a single lady, sometimes you gotta, date other races of men, but divesting is kind of a negative connotation because it means that you have no interest at all whatsoever. A black man is not even an option for you anymore. You've completely divested from black
Mm-hmm.
men.
And
Okay,
it's not just dating either, and it's not just black men. It's black culture. And that's
black
where the
culture.
problem comes in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because so had do you remember? Well, I'll bring him up later when we get into the
Yeah,
Ashley.
let me mention these cases because
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest cases that has just kind of struck a lot of thought and a lot of conversation, especially about divesting and so on and so
Mm-hmm.
forth, has been the Ashley Janae case. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And Ashley Janae is the young woman, a beautiful woman. Let me put up the picture. I don't know if I have a single picture of her, but I do have a recent. Here she is. Here she is in the corner. Ashley Janae. Sometimes she
Top
is
right.
referred to Ashley Robinson, and this
Mm-hmm.
is the mysterious death. Of course, it is still evolving, but this is the mysterious death of 31-year-old American lifestyle influencer. So she had a pretty sizable 100K thousand plus um, following on Instagram, and she's a lifestyle
Mm-hmm.
influencer. She went to Zanzibar, Tanzania, and she arrived there with her fiance. Again, this is an example of a woman who is divested. Okay, so um her partner was a white man from America. He was supposedly a millionaire. Again, she is a lifestyle influencer, so it's all about the clothes, the image, the brand, the luxurious lifestyle, the catching flights, the jets,
Mm-hmm.
the name brand, the Chanel,
Mm-hmm.
all that comes with a a luxurious lifestyle. And so that is this woman. My mic popped off. Sorry. But so Janae, she arrived. She traveled to Tanzania. Her fiance, who was her fiance at the time, he proposed to her over there, and they were there for a couple of days in Tanzania. Tanzania, and then they went over. She got proposed to in Tanzania, but then they changed resorts and went over to Zanzibar. Now, the context about Zanzibar, because this was a case that I was very, very, very like invested in. I went down the rabbit hole. And
Mm-hmm.
so the case with Zanzibar, it is a known place in Africa where there is a lot of white men coming over there for sex, X tourism. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they go, these rich white men, they go over, they fly over there with their jets, and they going over there and they having relations and having fun
Getting
with
their
the
fetish
black
on.
in
Mm-hmm.
Zanzibar. And it is a known place where these rich white men go. So the
Mm-hmm.
fiance takes Ashley over to Z- first Tanzania,
Mm-hmm.
asks her to marry him, and then takes her over to Zanzibar. Now, it is alleged that she did not want to, she got over there, she started to, figure out what was going on. This is just alleged, this is just circumspect,
Alleged.
details, but she, he starts to cheat with some of the other women in Zanzibar. He took her there, the what it looks like is he took her there because that's where all the rich white men take their women, and it was probably an ex trafficking situation because this was a
Hmm.
young woman who was all about this luxurious lifestyle. She didn't want to
Yep.
participate in that, and then somewhere along the line, she ends up unalive. It comes out that this fiance he had lost a lot of money in
Hmm.
crypto money, and this could have been a situation where she was set up. She was brought up over to Tanzania, in
Hmm.
Zanzibar specifically, because she was being ex trafficked. Okay.
Hmm.
And that's the case with actually Renee. But what has been flabbergasting to me
Mm.
behind this case,
Not flabbergasted.
yeah, is that black men have mocked. Now
Mm.
it's said that she was divested to the point that she had some very disparaging things to say about black men. I didn't go down the rabbit hole of seeing everything that she posted about black men, but what I did
I
see,
did.
it didn't look like it was bad like that, right? She hung out with black men, she was an influencer. She was just probably one of them young girls just, getting by on her pretty, okay?
Hmm. Hmm.
So what has flabbergasted me has been the response to black men and how they have just been like, oh effing well, or mocking her death, so to speak.
Mocking is never good.
What's your thought?
Mocking is never good. That's never good. That's somebody died that didn't have to die. Mocking them is never a good thing. That's horrible. I will say though, I did go down a little bit of a rabbit hole concerning her
Yeah.
because I want to know exactly what did she say to get these black men to be like, right? So
Yeah. I
for
mean,
those listening at
listen,
home,
it's been
short
some
shoulders.
horrible things.
It has. So what she one post that she made was the one that they draw the most. So they put the post that she made along with her dating preferences, and they marry the two together. They're like, you one of them, right? So the post that she made, uh,
Hmm.
in it, she said, what did she say? I think I wrote it down. Yeah. Every day, black men wake up and find new ways to embarrass us.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what she wrote on X. So, brothers, we're it's not like we're new to, black women feeling like, well, I'm gonna upgrade and I'm gonna date me a Indian dude, or I'm gonna date me a white guy with my okay, all right. And when I once I found out that, it's not like I was like, she deserved to die. No, no, not ever. But I was like, let's keep the same energy, right? Because I'm old enough to remember when Jonathan Majors was running for his life down the street, down several
The
streets.
only thing that saved him was him running for his life.
Look, and it was so funny. It was the funniest thing in the world, and it was so funny that they even made a Tubi movie about a man doing the exact same thing. And we killed him over it. Everybody, black men and white men, black
Yeah.
men and black women, killed him over it. Deservedly so. Why he should have been messing with some white women? That's what we said, right? That's what we, or when it was who was the other? I can't remember the other celebrity. But we
Here's the one
that's
that I often hear, and I got something to say about it. People are comparing her to Kevin Samuels, right? And I'm like,
yeah, and it's not the same
there's
thing.
no comparison because Kevin
Not the same
Samuels
thing.
passed with
Yeah, it
a
was a black
Latino,
woman. She just
a
was
fat
she
woman
Latino?
on
Yeah,
in
she
his
was just a biggin.
Red Bull. It was his own health. He
She
wasn't
just she just had a big back. That's all. She was big back. That's
he had
all. And
and he telling y'all how to be skinny and you ain't gonna
yeah,
listen, and
that was
telling
the funny
you
part with
and he
him.
helped you with heart attack.
Right. Well, and no, it was Shannon
What's the
Sharp.
difference?
Shannon Sharp was one that they were talking about. But and here's the difference: Shannon Sharp ain't never said nothing negative about black people. He don't do that because he got sisters, and they raised him, so he wouldn't do. But when he got in trouble and got recorded and was put out there, it was some little white girl that did that to him. Right. So we
And we was
and
like,
what do we say?
but
That's
she
what you
was
get for
a
messing with
young
them
white
white
girl.
women.
He was
Yeah,
a goofy.
exactly. I don't disagree. I do not disagree. Right. Let me also enter. There was a young man named Telvin Osborne.
Telvin Osborne.
Telvin Osborne. This happened a few years ago. He was killed by his white wife, and what he is known for is making tons and tons of disparaging remarks about black women, saying
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
stuff
yeah. I
like "I would
remember.
rather sleep with a dog than with
Yeah.
a black woman" and stuff like that. And then he got popped, and the mindset was, well, consequences and repercussions. We're not gonna cry. We're not gonna say that you deserve to die or nothing like that. We're not gonna shed a tear. You ain't love us like that. And even folks close to him, dudes that was close to him, that was like, that's my best friend's people, but he on some coon stuff, right? So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
even they acknowledge, like, you don't, and black men have been told, you don't have to put black women down just because you're choosing to date white
Well,
women. You
we
don't
gonna
have to
say
do that.
women because I don't see that. We as women don't.
Oh,
Maybe it's just me,
we have,
but
so we've been
we
told that all the time because dudes, I don't respect dudes who do that either. I actually worked with a guy back in the day who he he had a white wife, and at the time, the I started dating my ex wife who was white. Just for
okay.
folks to know, had a
Let it
black
be
one.
known. Call it a
Had
thing. Yeah.
black was first, then
Mm-hmm.
white.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm straight. I'm dipped. I ain't coming back. Right. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
but he thought that I was on team bash black women because at the time I was like, nah, bro, that's not what I'm on. Like, she just so happened to be
Mm-hmm.
somebody that I'm kicking it with. But his mindset was he would sleep with them, but he would never marry them.
Wow.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that kind of self-hating mindset is the mindset that a lot of brothers have. And they're told, and rightfully so, that date who you want to date. Whatever, like
Mm-hmm.
RG3, date who you want to date. You don't have to put black women down just because you date somebody. That's some
Exactly.
old self-hating stuff.
Exactly.
So
Your
so when
mind
brothers are
is
saying,
just like her.
yeah, so when brothers are saying the same thing concerning, Ashley, it just so happens that, the circumstances are a whole lot more worse because she actually was unalived. But the mindset is, while she was alive, she could care less about it. In fact, she felt like she had upgraded not because of her financial status, but because of his color and financial status.
Well,
And
I
and
think that's
then,
the narrative that was painted. I think she was a young girl
mhm,
who, let's just be real. Me and you are Gen X. She was
right,
a Gen Z.
right,
Their world is different. What they have
yeah,
seen and what they know to be the norm is that you
mhm,
go viral, you play cosplay this luxurious lifestyle. It's
mhm,
soft girl, it's soft life. Now I ain't gonna lie, I like a little soft girl era because I feel
yeah,
like I'm in my soft girl
ain't
era.
nothing
But
wrong with
I've
softness.
said on this podcast. But what a lot of these young women in this younger generation see is they see social media is their guide, right? And if
Hmm.
you want to go viral, if you want to be an influence, if you want to be popular, so you got to show this certain lifestyle. And
Hmm.
so we don't humanize her is what
Right,
I'm getting at. We don't look
yeah,
at her as somebody's baby, somebody's
yeah,
daughter, somebody's sister. We see her because she said some uncouth stuff because she's too
hmm,
young and naive to know that's not the kind of stuff that you put on social media, or maybe she just didn't grow up in the environment. If we look at a picture of her, I think I have a picture of her. I may, but if we look at a picture of her family, her and her family, and again, we're talking about Ashley Janae, the big case of the woman who was unalived in Zanzibar by
Zanzibar.
a white partner. But you look at her family, her mother was married
Hmm.
to a white man, her siblings are mixed. And so that is the environment that she grew up in. And so
Hmm.
I just think it goes back to, and I think Mina said it, emotional control, emotional intelligence. People are
Hmm.
not looking at this with emotional intelligence as this is a young woman. They automatically go to a post that was probably 8, 9 years ago.
Well,
When
hopefully
she
it wasn't 8, 9 years
very,
ago. She'd have
very,
been like
very, very
14 or
young.
something. But
Yeah.
so I think it's a hard ask, right? When we as black men see the response to a similar type of situation happening, the national response to a similar type of situation happening with a black man, whether he's unalived or whether he's accused of sexual assault or whether he's humiliated or whatever, all these different things that happen. And it's like, aha, and then something happens to a black woman who and when we talk about her preference, it's not just that she just loved her some milky skin. Her mindset was a divestment mindset. And that's divesting from the culture. That's not divesting just from black men. That's saying I want to reject everything. I believe that black culture is toxic, and I'm divesting myself from black culture with a mindset that I can live this white or this colorless lifestyle with these people who really appreciate me, only to find out that those other races fetishize you and treat you as a mascot.
Yeah, I had that very debate with a young lady online. Like you can get into it with people online, right? Because people have opinion,
Yeah.
they get behind the keyboard, they keyboard gang,
Mm-hmm.
and we were talking about divesting. And so
Mm-hmm.
I said something that probably triggered her or made her think that I was either male centered or what have you, but um what I said to her is that I'm good, right? With black men, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to go to a situation, and that's just me. That's my preference. It's not
Yeah.
that I have never been attracted to a man of another race because I have, when I was younger. But for me,
Mm-hmm.
my world is black, and that's what it is, and
Yep.
so my husband is black and black, black, black.
Right.
And
Right.
so I expressed that, that's what it is for me. And her response was that, pretty much that I was male centered, but my response to her is that I don't want to be somebody's fetish because that's how they often view us,
True.
right? I
True.
don't want to go to Europe and get with another guy,
But
and
you
of
don't
another
want the
race, and all
Serena
I
Williams
am
treatment.
is, yeah,
Bleach
what
your
he was
skin,
seeing
get
on
skinny.
TV. Yeah, yeah.
No,
So
I think like the there's nothing wrong when a guy like it's not looked at as bad when a guy considers himself a feminist, right? So
yeah,
why is it wrong when a woman considers herself male centered, right? If you're an ally, if you believe um, that the best path forward for the community, for the culture, is to
unity.
have love and unify with the other side, how is that a bad thing when it's you all coming over this way? Right?
Mhm.
It's not considered bad when we go over that way and we show up to all the women's marches and we advocate
Y'all get called simps
for
and
women.
stuff.
Of course, but that's by brothers, right? But I'm talking about by women. We're
Yeah,
considered progressive and we're considered, intelligent. And they raised
yeah,
them right and stuff like that, right? But when a woman says, "Hey, I don't want to battle with, my black man. I want to be his peace. I want to be strength together with him. I want his shoulder. I want him to feel like relieved when he sees me. I don't want him to feel like there's another battle that he has that when he comes when that's the mindset, then it's oh you a pick me, right? Like you really
I think
gotta
sign of the
you really
time.
gotta yeah, you got but this is where this is kind of the mindset of people who like Ashley Janae move into this divestment mindset, right? That things that are like it's something that you don't see in other cultures.
Yeah,
Like nobody, no white girls are coming together and naming a movement of we're going to divest from our whiteness. Now they're going to have some mulatto kids around the crib, but they not going.
got a
If the
whole
police come, if
yeah,
the police come and hit that boop boop, they white. They not going. They not divesting from their whiteness. There's too much power in it. We're the only ones that feel like being something else, or not all of us, but being something else or being attributed or connected to something else is somehow beneficial to us. So
yeah,
this is where she was, and she's the female version um of a like the one dude I said Owen whatever Owen
yeah,
Telvin Osborne.
yeah,
She's the female version of that who believes that there's some benefit or there's some upgrade in connecting yourself with a white person. And
yeah,
what we often find is there's death either figuratively or literally over there.
yeah.
Not not even because all of them are murderers or killers or nothing like that, but because if somebody makes you have to deny your culture in order for if that's the price for admission, then the cost is too high.
Yeah, and let's preface it with saying you can marry who you want. Love is
Yep.
love.
Yep.
Um, it is all good with me.
Hmm.
I don't have any problems with people marrying, partnering with, falling in love, being
No,
embraced by people of other races. So we don't want to send that message.
at
Um,
all.
but
At
when
all.
we get to the point where we are downing our own
Exactly.
because of what our preferences are or what then that is where the problem comes in. I
That's the
want to go
self
back
hate.
to this one question, but because I want to hear your perspective. But the question I posed a little earlier is, what does protection look like from Black men for Black women? And Cheryl said protection for Black women isn't just physical, it's emotional, mental, and spiritual. So true. And that it looks like being respected in rooms we're not in. It looks like being spoken of with honor, not just in our presence, but in our absence. It looks like creating safe spaces where we don't have to be strong all the time, where we could be soft, vulnerable, and feel secure. What does protection for Black women? Because that's what it is, right? Right now, if
Hmm.
we're honest, we're feeling unprotected, whether it's from an intimate partner, violent situation, or it's just that we don't feel value, we don't feel honored, we're always thought of as less than. A lot of times Black men don't realize we're fighting some of the same battles that you are in the workplace and out there in the world. We're facing some of those same battles too. Yes, we're the most educated in all of these things, but we're facing some of the same battles. And so what does protection for us look like from y'all? What would you say?
I think I think protection for us is so costly that we have to be judicious
Mm-hmm.
in how we give it, right? Because I know people who I grew up with who are no longer here because they stepped in and protected somebody who only went right back to the person that they were being protected from, right?
Mm-hmm.
And while
And
that's
that's
a
the
noble
dynamic
thing,
of domestic violence, right? Because there's a
yeah,
lot that goes within it. Yeah.
yeah, and that's a noble thing, right?
Hmm.
But his mama doesn't have a son anymore, right? His wife doesn't have a husband anymore. You know,
Yeah.
I think that when we're talking about our role as men, it's not going to. You have to be careful to not feminize it, right? And what do I mean by that? I mean that it may not look like it should to you,
Mm-hmm.
but there has to be a level of trust where if you trust me to be a protector, then you have to trust my instincts when it comes to protection. So
Okay.
sometimes when I say grab your purse, let's go, there doesn't need to be a why after it, right?
We be asking too many questions.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes
My husband
grab your
said that. You're
purse.
like, you be asking all these questions. I'm like, I
Grab your purse.
can
It's because, so funny story. Me and my younger brother, and this is how protection in love looks, right? Me and my younger brother, we had went through a phase where we hadn't talked in like 10 years, right? And we're all in Chicago. We're chopping it up with my kids and with my mom, and we're walking through the streets of Chicago, and it was broad daylight, but there was this dude that was like kind of looking funny, walking
Mhm.
walking like close, kind of close, and my mom was oblivious, completely oblivious to this guy. And me and my younger
Really?
brother both, yeah, me and
Yeah.
my younger brother both are like, Mom, hold up real quick. Stand up. Huh? What? Huh? What? Like she didn't get it. Just wait right here for a second. And me and him again, we hadn't talked in like 10 years, but we were on the same wavelength
Uh-huh.
concerning this because our role was to protect the women that are there. I take that role seriously, and
Yeah.
so much so that and I have women friends completely platonic
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
people.
But you do that with
Women
all
friends
with
who
sonic
all
friends,
of them,
women,
yeah,
yeah.
all of and the biggest compliment that I've ever gotten is them feeling safe around me.
Yeah.
Like that's the biggest
We
compliment.
feel safe with you. Yeah.
Yeah,
We let down our
that's
guard.
the that's the biggest compliment that I've ever gotten, and I take that seriously. But that same instinct that I have to be that way has rubbed some people the wrong way and made them feel like either I'm trying to holler, or made them feel like, oh, you being controlling,
Yeah.
or something. So there is an element of masculinity that that dictates that we are to protect, that we are to be protection.
Mm-hmm.
But we normally are dealing in the physical. When you're talking about emotional protection, then that's for your man, right? That's for your father, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's for people who have a vested interest. That's not going to be the dude that you let clap. Because just because he there to clap don't mean that he gonna protect you emotionally. That's not what he there for. He's there
Right.
for a good time, not a long time. You know what I
Right.
mean? So when it comes to protection, there's a freedom that you give up. You give up some freedom when it comes to protection. I say this all the time. You can either be safe or you can be free. Can't be both, right? You can have a good amount of both. But if you want to be safe, then that means that you have to give up your freedom because you got to do what somebody else tells you to do because they're controlling your access in order to protect you, right?
So
If you
so
want to be
what
completely free,
the woman who perhaps and this is just a scenario, right? What do
right?
we say to the woman who has been single for a long time?
Hmm.
She has, raised her kids. She has
Hmm.
um pretty much taken care of herself from a very young age.
Hmm.
Maybe she got a little bit of trauma where she like like I said earlier, it's a lot of us black girl stories where we were raised to be a little tough. Not that you out there
Yeah,
fighting all the time, but
yeah.
I feel like sometimes when I compare our generation, Gen X generation, to
Hmm.
some of the other generations, particularly as it relates to black women,
Hmm.
and the women that I identify with, these we grew up with street smarts, right? And
Yeah,
so we
yeah.
too learned how to check. check
Right,
your
right.
peripherals. Now, I will
Mhm.
agree with you that you give up a certain freedom, you relax yourself, because I will say my husband probably be like, "Where the hell is your peripherals at all the time?" In fact, he says that all the time
Yeah,
because I'm in
you
a
know he's
space
there. So
where I'm accustomed to him
right,
making shit
so you don't have to worry about that.
right, so I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
But what do you say? How do you treat the woman who has not had that um, opportunity to feel that level or sense of freedom and protection from a man? She's experienced abuse and trauma and all of
hmm
those things, and she's built up a tough exterior. How do we handle a woman like that and still recognize that, she's a woman, she's had these experiences? Because some men aren't able to do that, and that's where the
yeah,
she's masculine, she's this, she's that conversation gets in, when really it's a lot of times we have just been bred and raised to be survivors since slavery.
yeah. Well,
That's our
she's got to
culture.
do the trauma
Black
work.
women are strong. That's
Yeah,
just our
she
nature.
and conversely, black men have been like hunted since that time. So you got one group who is made to account for or to make up take up the slack for
Mhm.
the lack of that masculinity there or that protection there, and then you got one group who's being so um, s- so horribly broken to prevent them from being able to be the protector and provider. That
Mhm.
also bleeds into why you look at me or with that kind of eye, with the expectation of something that I wasn't prepared to give because I haven't seen it, I haven't felt it. I would say on the woman's side, you got to do the trauma work, right?
Yeah,
You
trauma
don't
work.
you don't you have to do the work that teaches you that I don't have to respond to this thing, or I can ask a question before I make an assumption,
Yeah,
right? And I can learn how what is he trying to do in protecting, right?
yeah,
My example, when me and my ex-wife were divorcing, I used to, and this is something that would happen all the time. Like, say if she's walking through the house, my my mind would look at if there's a toy on the floor. Um, she might step on it and slip and fall. I'm going to go and grab it before she even gets close enough for that to happen. I'm going
to
to
really
do that
grow.
before I asked her if she ever noticed me doing that, and she never did.
Yeah, because
And there's,
we get in osmosis. My husband takes care of that, or
yeah,
he, yeah,
yeah, you don't
it's
you don't know
subconscious. It's
the,
not conscious. Most times it's
yeah,
subconscious. Yeah,
you're not intentionally like disregarding what he's doing. It's he's taking care of things before it even reaches you, right?
hmm
That's how we show love. So on the woman's side, I would say to do the trauma work so that you can recognize things like that and you can
yeah.
understand what protection would look like
Healthy
from,
protection.
and what kind of guy actually provides that kind of protection, because you want to choose a guy who will automatically provide that kind of protection without you having to give him something first. Like
Right.
you want that to be in his DNA. As far as a guy is concerned, like we have to understand that, or we have to do the work that allows us to see beyond the physical, right? That
Yeah.
sometimes, like say if you're getting married to a woman, I'll say y'all dating, you the fiance, but you still holler at your ex. Nothing's happening. Y'all not doing nothing, but you still talking to her, and kicking it with her and stuff like that. And your girl doesn't feel secure. You're not protecting her emotion. Or you put yourself in positions where there's, chicks around, maybe they don't care about the fact that you married or whatever. And you're putting yourself in those environments, and she is nervous about you doing that. She may not think that you are a bad person, but things happen, right? So protecting her in that way, or I had to learn this, and it helps having a female best friend, right?
Mm.
For this reason, understanding that every time that you all come to us with something, you're not looking for us to fix it. Sometimes you want to be heard, right?
Yeah.
And now that makes no sense to me as a man.
Because you're a sister.
That makes no sense to me. Like to
What you
me,
come to
if
me for?
yeah, like why are you telling me? You know, like that was literally I said those, and thank God for Jill, who was able to help me
Yeah, she's checking
process.
in. Shout out to the class of
Yeah,
95.
shout out to my girl. That's my sis. To understanding that you all feel better when you communicate. And sometimes you don't need us for the answer. You have the answer. You just need to process it, and you need a safe place to
And we talk
process
a
it.
lot.
So yeah, and we don't like if I'm telling you something, I'm wanting to hear your response. Like if it's something that I'm befuddled about, right?
Mhm.
I want you to give me an answer that I can take and do something with. I'm not going to like I don't feel better because I just unloaded and released. That
Right,
don't make me feel better. But I'm a guy.
right.
So as a guy learning that sometimes your stance of protector is just you being a solid space for that person
Yeah.
and being okay with that and not having to overpower everything
Yeah.
and you can't punch everything, so guys have to do that work because
And
you
realize that
become a different human
sometimes
being.
our strength
Yeah.
and what we project is just, independent strength,
Yeah.
all of that. Give us time. In a lot of cases, listen, I was not no easy wall to climb for my husband when we first got together,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because my what I had experienced is, living in Indianapolis, the dating experience was just whacking shit, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah. It's wild down there.
and
Wild down
so disappointment, kissing frogs, doing my own thing, going to school, get my accomplishment. I
there. Hmm.
never wanted kids outside of marriage, so I did the things that I needed to do to either to not have kids because it was never my desire to have kids outside of the confines of marriage. And then I got too
Hmm.
old to have them, so here we are.
Yeah.
But you know, you develop an exterior where it goes back to my first question, where you tough because you have to be,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
you. When I was
That's
single,
what I'm.
in my single era, I had to hire, people to come cut my grass and figure it
Yeah.
all out and
Shovel the snow. Yeah.
shovel
All
the
of that stuff.
snow, shovel. I had to do all of that because I was single at the time, and now I got a husband. I got to do none of that shit.
There you go. Honeydew list. Yeah. That's what I mean though by
But I was
like
not easy. Like
right.
it took time of him proving, showing consistency, and
Hmm.
all those walls came down to I'm just
You
mushy. Hell no, but
you and that's somebody providing a space for you to be mushy. Like you can't be mushy if somebody's making you take care of all the responsibilities
yeah,
and they sit back and let you be the grown up while they be the child. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But that's what I mean by doing the trauma work. The trauma work is understanding if put air in your tire, it's not because I don't think that you possess the mental fortitude to put air in your tire. I'm honoring you when I put air in your tire. If I
right.
hold your door open, it's not just because I'm trying to look at your behind. That's part of it. But it's because I'm honoring you as well. If I see somebody kind of standing aggressive towards you and I step in front of you, it's not because I don't think that you can handle the situation. It's because I'm honoring you. These are like changing your mindset concerning that because you've kissed a lot of frogs and didn't have that kind of protection when it came to that. When somebody's actually giving you that, then you being able to see it for what it is. That's you got to do that trauma work, and guys got to do the work to know that if we're not consistent, she's not going to be able to be
She ain't
safe
gonna
with
let
us.
her guards down, right?
No, you got to do it
And,
every time.
and y'all need to start teaching y'all that to these younger generation of men. Okay.
Yeah.
So
It,
I
if
want to talk real quickly, because I don't want to belabor us too long about two
mhm,
last cases that have gone viral. Now, this
mhm,
next one is such a tragic story. but I want to give the attention that it needs, which is the reason why I want to make sure that I'm mentioning all of these cases. But
Mm,
this particular case, the Shamar Elkins case, so this goes back, and again, the narrative was been painted, the picture
mm,
that is mental illness, mental illness. When the truth of the matter is, this man was cheating, and he got caught up,
yeah.
and his wife was taking him to divorce court, and he was about to have a whole heck of a lot of child support. 7 kids. He had a baby on the way by another young lady. 7 of the kids that
Mm,
he unalived was his own. So this is the Shamar Elkins case. And they refer to this. This happened April 19th. This was in Shreveport, Port, Louisiana.
mm,
Shamar was 31 years old, and he
mm.
unalived 8 children and wounded 2 women. They are
Yep.
referring to this case as a mass shooting because of the amount of people that was unalived
Yep.
in this case. He was a former member of the Louisiana National Guard. He
Mm-hmm.
targeted 7 of his own children. He took the lives of his
His
own
own
children,
kids.
7 of them,
Mm-hmm.
and one young cousin.
Yep.
After fleeing the scene and leading police on a high speed pursuit in the neighborhood, he was eventually shot and unalived by law enforcement. So the case surrounding this particular act of violence, it was a domestic disturbance at 6 a.m. that morning, and the children, the 8 children that he unalived range from three to 11 years old. One child was reportedly unalived while attempting to escape via a roof. The
Mm-hmm.
survivors were 2 women. One was identified as his wife. He went for the wife, but he didn't unalive her, unalived all the
No.
children.
No.
Shanika
She was.
Elkins,
She. Yeah.
another
She
woman who
wasn't
was
around.
the sister-in-law, was shot in the face but survived. And so there was marital discord, that it's
Mm-hmm.
being alleged that there was mental health struggles. He had recently expressed dark thoughts and suicidal ideations to his parents and stepfather. He has some military service, um, but he also had a criminal history with prior convictions in 2019 for illegal use of a weapon, and he served some probation time. And so that is just, I mean, it's just tragic. And then the last case that we'll bring to bear and highlight is the case of Barbara Deer. This happened in Chicago, April 14th. Barbara Deer and her son Caleb Deer were found deceased in their home, and they were discovered by neighbors. The neighbors became concerned after seeing the family dog outside for over an hour and noticed the front door was unusually bolted shut. Officers arrived about 6 p.m. The cause of death was Barbara suffered 3 gunshot wounds. Caleb died from a single gunshot wound. And the alleged person who committed this crime was Dennis Beer. The tragedy came while the family was mourning the loss of Dennis Deer, a prominent Cook County commissioner who passed away. And there's been a lot of community impacts, but so on and so forth. The narrative that's being painted is that it's mental health, and so
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yep.
it's a hard balance to say that we need to pay attention to and make sure that we're getting the resources to Black men. For us as Black women, I'm just speaking from my perspective. It's a hard balance because we understand we want to support. Many of us want to support and be conscious of that there's disparities in Black men getting the support and the resources that they need for mental health,
Mm-hmm.
with the balance of it's just some scary time out here for us as
Really?
men. And we want to know
It
who's
really is.
protecting us and what does that protection look like and what does it feel like.
I'll tell you. Shamar Elkins. That's the one. I need y'all to look at his mugshot. Look at his mugshot.
I'm gonna try to find his mug shot.
Yeah, you see his mugshot. You be like, yes, sis, you should have made seven of them, like seven of them he looked like there was some issues with him. Um, on top of that, I did a little digging with him also. Um, he was a crack baby. He was
Oh,
raised by his by a family friend because his mom was strung out as a teenager when she
uh-huh.
had him. So that does add um, to the equation when you're thinking about mental health. He probably definitely had a mental health issue, um, as well as the Barbara Deer situation. So from what I read, the reports are, yeah. Now look at that. Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now. Like
He
if
looked like
if
something
if
going
they
on.
had if they had a lineup and they said somebody did something and he was in the lineup,
He'd
he
want to
everybody
do it.
choosing him. He did
Right.
it. He did it, and ain't nobody gonna question it. Right.
Yeah.
Uh, but with Barbara Deer, it's alleged that her son was the one who unalived her and then unalived himself.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I read it wrong.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah. So the unfortunate part is that when it comes to domestic violence, it's always going to fall harder on women. And regardless of the statistic, it's always going to be harder on black women, which is why we have to be um, very strategic in how we teach our daughters discernment. Right. Um,
Yeah.
my niece, my stepsister had a daughter, and I said had as in past tense, um, where we were just talking one week about, bro, I really, I'm really stressing about my daughter. She's in this relationship I don't want her to be in. And I just feel bad because I wish I would have shown her more and shown her better. And I said, well, you're here now, and praying her through it and encouraging her. That's the best you can do now. And
Mm-hmm.
hopefully she sees the changes that you've made, and then she's able to go from there. And she didn't get
Mm-hmm.
the time to make that transition because her boyfriend unalived her on Facebook Live. Um,
Wow.
she in her mind thought, and I'm sure they had some like physical violence with one another because that's what we were talking about. But she never thought that he would ever like
Yeah.
shoot her, and that and the mindset of, yeah, he'd hit me, but he wouldn't kill me or unalive me is is one of those mindsets that plagues our young girls who
Yeah.
they can't see, like the old folks will say, if somebody lied to you, they're kidding.
Mm-hmm.
you know
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
that's so.
we need to yeah, we need to really imprint on our daughters and then on our young girls that violence increases. It gets worse. It doesn't have a blip and then go away. Because
Yeah.
if a guy can say "I love you" and then ball up his fist and hit you, then he could kill you or unalive you. I've got to remember for YouTube purposes. But if he can do that, if he can ball up his fist and hit you, he can unalive you because he has no emotional control, and he does not see you as a vessel to be honored. He sees you as just a chick or a thing for
He
him to
doesn't
control or to dominate.
you and you. And
Yeah.
unless he does the work and gets the help, it only
Hmm.
gets worse. It
Yeah.
only gets worse. And sure, as Cheryl indicated, we need to teach our daughters and sons about domestic violence. I think we need to teach our sons and our daughters about having healthy relationships.
Yeah.
When I was chair of my sorority's domestic and sexual abuse committee, one of the things that we
Hmm.
did, we talked a lot about healthy relationships, how these young girls need to recognize what is um, a healthy admiration of you
Yeah.
versus that is toxic, where he always want to know where you're at. You got to
An
check
obsession.
and call,
Yeah.
and what a healthy relationship looks like versus a non-healthy. And I can only imagine that, in the Beer case, this was the son unaliving his mother and then also killing himself. But large by large, all the cases that we kind of highlighted tonight, these are women who were in intimate relationships with these men. I can
Yep.
only imagine that there were red flags, because there's always red flags, right? So
Yeah.
we often
Always.
say that I had no idea because we didn't know the red flags. We weren't wise enough. We didn't have the wisdom to know and understand. Oh, you didn't call me 5 times to see where I'm at. That's a red
Yeah.
flag. In
Yeah.
our naive minds, and I'm speaking from experience as being a young woman. In our naive
Yeah.
minds, oh, he really into me. He really loves me. He
Yeah.
always want to know where I'm at. That's what our young mind conceives until it turns
Yeah.
into something that's demonic, something that's
Yeah.
abusive, something else.
Even
When all
even the
along,
words that we say
man,
that on even the words that we say on on these memes and on Instagram, like okay, the I think like social media is a gift and a curse because there's some artistic, hilarious stuff that we see on on social media. And black people, we can flip anything. We'll take any kind of scenario and flip it and make it funny and from tragedy to funny. But but a lot of these young people don't get the fact that um, that is certain things you don't flip, right? Like when you say, "Oh, I want my man obsessed with me." No, you don't.
no, you don't.
You think you do.
Yeah,
You really don't.
yeah,
Or when dudes say, "Oh, I like my girl with a little crazy." No, you don't.
no, you don't.
You think you do.
Yeah,
You really don't because there's dudes sitting in prison right now because their girl had a little crazy.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And oftentimes we just dismiss the fact that it's a gender thing. Sometimes we look at young girls who act a little crazy, we make more excuses for it than we would a
Mhm.
young male who's displaying certain behaviors. But it's the same
Yeah.
thing. If she
It
crazy,
is.
she hit me. I've told my son, if she calls you out of your name,
Yeah, man.
that she doesn't respect you.
Right.
She doesn't
Yeah.
respect you. And
There's.
you don't want to be with any young girl who does not have respect for you, especially when you present yourself in such a way that
Yep.
you are deserving as a young black man of respect. If she calling you out your name and getting all loud, trying to embarrass you in front of
Get
the
up out of
friends,
there.
no, cut
Get
her.
up out of there. There's girls who will come in, they will pick up their phone, dial 9-1, get in your face, start doing all of that and wait for you to have a natural response to somebody who's effectively abusing you and then hit one and then say, "Oh, he beating me, he hurting me, take him to jail." Just to prove that they have power over you because women are not physically dominant over us. We are physically dominant. So the only thing that a lot of young girls feel like where they can have power is by using, manipulation and manipulating the court system or manipulating law enforcement. Oh, you gonna be in that girl's face. Oh, okay, well, I'm gonna do this then. And
Mhm.
now you stuck in jail because she sent some dudes over to your house,
Yeah,
her brothers and them, stuff like that. Now you
that,
went to it all summer. Yeah.
that's your
So
goofy ass.
yeah, sitting there looking stupid
Right.
next to somebody who did kill 3 4 people because they crazy, and you just sitting there because you don't know how to control yourself. So emotional discipline is something that we got to teach young men and young women, and dealing with disappointment. That disappointment happens, and then the sun shines. You
Yeah.
don't have to throw your whole life away because somebody hurt you or somebody disappointed you. like you'll get up again, you'll rise again, you'll have other instances or
Or
other
because somebody
issues.
doesn't want to talk to you, or because somebody
Yeah,
doesn't want to be with you anymore. You will survive. It
yeah,
does
you're
not
not
have
gonna
to
die.
result in violence.
Yeah.
And I think we also should, I'm not denying that in a lot of these cases there weren't mental health concerns, but I think
Mhm.
what, if I could speak again for Black women, what we would love to see is that other Black men start holding their Black men accountable and start
Mhm.
speaking out against the misogyny,
Yeah.
um the demeaning words, words against women, and this just display of disdain for women,
Mhm.
I'm not trying to say that there aren't some bad seed women out there that don't every now and then deserve to be called, you know
Yeah.
but
They
for the
left.
most part we are, um you know it's scary times, right? And
It
so
is.
we are doing a lot of things to protect ourselves, right? I
Yeah.
mean, we going to the gun range, you know,
Hmm.
we got that
Yeah.
thing on us when we go out
Yeah.
because we have to
Put
be
that
a,
pew pew on you. Yeah.
we're learning, I've been fortunate to learn, self defense mechanisms and
Hmm.
fighting and tools and stuff. We're having to do that now to protect
Hmm.
ourselves. And just take all of these extra precautions because it's a scary time out here for women and Black women in particular. And social media does not help. It makes it
No.
even scarier. And when you see cases like this where it just seems like, these Black women are just losing their lives by the hands of people who were supposed to love and protect them,
Hmm.
it exacerbates it and it makes it even scarier. And so it leaves and bears the question of, what is our status and who's protecting us? Who can we rely on to protect us?
I'll say this. Um, there are a lot of good men, a lot of good black men out there, um, who never get the spotlight, who never get the attention, who never get the praise, and when they do something that's extraordinary or just a decent thing to do,
Yeah.
um, is looked at as, well, that's what you're supposed to do.
Hmm.
And when you diminish things like that, instead of increasing its spotlight, you lower the bar,
Yeah.
right? So now, when you're teaching your sons how to be a man, and you're trying to tell them to show emotional discipline, and you're trying to show it yourself, well, you've lowered the bar for what that looks like, because you'll have them for maybe 6 hours a day, but social media will have them, and and school will have them, and TV will have them for the other 18 hours.
Yeah.
So so we have to, one, not diminish the role of good fathers,
Good
right?
fathers, good men, good Black.
Good fathers, because if you don't diminish those roles, and you stop judging what a good father is um, based off of what a lot of women who have never been able to successfully partner with a man say a good father is, you're gonna you're gonna take away stuff from that child that he needs from that father, right? Because just because he wasn't a good husband to you doesn't mean he's not a good father to his child,
Yeah.
right? So you have to, the emotional discipline that kids usually get, boys especially usually get, is what they see from their fathers. They see their fathers handle situations and not overreact, and then
Hmm.
they learn that they don't have to overreact. They can be in control of the situation and never have to overreact. And they
Yeah.
see that from pops, and then they enact that in their lives, because when they're scared, they go back to what they've seen, what they know, like we all do. If they seen their father just stand up straight, speak with a calm voice, and be in total control of the situation, that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So, and in protecting yourselves from what's going on currently, let's speak into these boys and let's show them emotional discipline as much as you can spare, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it times get hard out here. So as much as you can spare, show them emotional discipline and allow that father that you can't stand, but who's a good dad, allow him to show emotional discipline the way that he's going to do it, not the way that you want him to do it, but the
Mm-hmm.
way that he's going to do it. And your kid will be the better for it. There's I don't think there's a deficit of black fathers out there now. That narrative has
Yeah,
been
because
killed.
statistics still show that black
Yep.
fathers are the most active in
Yep.
the
So
lives of
we
their
so we just need to
we want
we
to
just need to curtail.
rest that black men are not taking care of their kids. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
this for a fact. Most of the black
Yep.
men that I have been around, black men that I've dated, they were single fathers and they were taking care of their kids by themselves without the
Yeah.
support and help of
And we
women.
the mom. We
Yeah.
got to amplify the fact that that's the case, and we got to amplify the fact that we got to stop making it cool for black men to be bashed in
Yeah.
society, right? And while that seems like an emotional ask, it's not because um, people know when you give yourself affirmations, it changes your brain chemistry. It changes the way that you think about things. So if we continue to affirm these negative stereotypes or these negative statements concerning black men, well, you got sons and they'll
Yeah.
eventually be black men, and you've lowered the bar for them because you said black men ain't.
Yeah.
So now they don't have to be emotional. They don't have to be gentlemen. Because what's a gentleman now? Right?
Yeah.
Because there's people who right now don't know, like, if you put up a picture of a girl and a guy walking down the street, and the girl is by the curb and the guy is on the inside, they don't know what's wrong with that.
Yeah. It's some young
That
ladies that don't know that's wrong. But
yeah.
we agree we gotta invest in
Yeah.
our young men. And I think we don't have all the answers. We're not gonna be able to answer all these questions here. It's just these stories are
Yeah.
tragic and we
They
don't know
are.
the rhyme or reason. Was it mental health? Was it these men just snapped? And these women happen to be black. We don't know. We don't know their backstories, but I do believe with a strong sense and agree with what you said that we really got to invest in our young black men. We got to teach them emotional strength, emotional intelligence,
Mhm.
emotional control. All of those things matter. And then we also have to take, a little old school relationship. Not the kind of old school relationship teaching where our mothers and grandmothers was bogged down and miserable,
Yeah.
but just a little bit of old school value, I think, that
Yeah.
would not hurt this younger generation.
It
But
wouldn't.
also considering that they live in a different time, they've seen different
Yeah.
things. They're from, a different generation of mothers who grew up strong and survived and toxicity in the drug era and all of these things that we as black folks have faced that really have had impact on our relationships, but it's definitely
Yeah.
having an impact on our mental health. And these are just tragic, and we have to continue to highlight them. We have to continue
Yeah.
to educate. We have to continue to have these kinds of conversations. So, thank
Yeah.
you for
Mhm.
having this conversation on this evening. I know there's a lot. We kind of bounce around a lot. But
Yeah.
I do want to do my own due diligence, and I want to put this up before you go away, Mark.
Hmm.
And just showing because again, I have sat in the advocate seat. um, Domestic violence and overcoming and being a survivor has been a ministry for me in you know In younger years, it's been my passion because of what I myself have experienced, what I've seen, and so forth. And so I would be remiss with not giving you the data that you need, the facts that you need, so on and so forth. So if you yourself know someone experiencing domestic violence for yourself, so on and so forth, there is a national hotline. It's confidential. It's the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233. We could probably go in deep into, and we didn't do that, but we can kind of go in deep, and we'll save that for another conversation about all of the dynamics of domestic violence, because we tend to make lighthearted of it, and we often
Mhm.
blame the woman and why she didn't she leave. And but there's so many psychological aspects to domestic violence. We could probably say the same for some of these women, Dr. Serena, some of these other women that were married to their husbands for 20, 30 years. Why didn't she leave a long time ago? It is not that simple. It's simple to say, it's not simple to do. And so there's a lot of
Mhm.
factors behind why a woman does not leave. Why doesn't she leave? Why she chooses to stay in the relationship, because there's kids involved, there's finances involved, there's self-esteem issues, there's a plethora of reasons. But we would be here
Right.
for another 2 hours
Yeah.
carrying this conversation if we were to dig into all of those. But these are tragic cases, and it seems like they're just being highlighted and magnified for us. I have a whole theory about that, but I'm gonna save that for another conversation. But it's definitely tragic, and I think that you know some of this. I'm just gonna say it from my perspective. I feel as in what I have seen and the attitudes and behaviors behind towards some of these cases is that we really need our men to hold other men accountable. And we really
Mhm.
need our men to invest in our younger generation of men. And we really need a generation of men who sees this as a serious thing. And I'm going to preface this with saying that I have seen a lot of black men of the D9, so on and so forth, who have spoken out against that, because I think Dr. Serena's husband was an alpha.
Mhm.
And so we have seen some black men who are starting to speak out and talk about these tragedies. We need more of that. We need to know that our black men hold us with some level of value, and be able
Mhm.
to discern between the women who are not to be valued versus those, not putting us all in the same bucket. And so
Mhm.
it's just a layered conversation, and we just got to keep having
Yeah,
the conversation.
it's
Yeah,
important.
yeah, it's important. Yeah. Cheryl says we need our men. Period. We do. We do. We need y'all. Y'all need us. Because who would
Mhm.
have to annoy the fuck out of you if we wasn't around?
Look, look. Every place can't be Atlanta. I feel like we need y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Thank you, Mark, for helping me to carry this conversation. I always appreciate your perspective. I always know that you're going to bring a balanced perspective, and you're going to bring a level of intelligence to the conversation, so on and so forth. So I appreciate you. Tell us where we can find you, because you do your own social commentary about trending
I do.
topics, stuff like that. That's why I say we don't always agree. Now we was agreeable
No,
tonight.
I know it's rare occurrence, y'all. So make sure you copy this down. Rare occurrence. I'm always on Facebook, Instagram. Facebook, you can find me under Mark EB. I got a couple pages on there. I'll promote
Yeah,
at
put it
another
in the
time.
chat. You
But
can also put in the chat.
yeah, I'll come back and put it in the chat. Instagram. I'm on TikTok, but I'm not on TikTok. But I'll be on TikTok. So
Yeah.
that's the thing that I'm purposing myself to do this year. Also, is to do more than that. Most of the stuff that I talk about is going to be probably politics. And my mindset is everybody doesn't follow politics like I do. It's very boring for people who don't. So I try and just make it digestible. So that's all I'm trying to do. But yeah, you on Instagram is the Mark B. I think that's what it is. I'll put it all in the chat.
Get it together, old man.
Yeah, I know.
Put it in the chat
I'm,
now.
I
Yeah,
mean, better job promoting myself. I will.
yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate you. Hang out for me backstage. I'm gonna just kind of close us out, and we'll
Yep.
wrap this thing up. We appreciate you. Y'all show Mark B some love in the chat. Give him some fist ups. We ain't gonna put no lipsticks and high heels behind you, but
Please
we'll give
don't.
you some fist up.
Yeah.
We'll say, hey, good conversation. But thank you. Hang out for me backstage for a little bit. Well, thank y'all for tuning in tonight. I always appreciate the support, the love. Again, I'm only doing these high heels and lipstick conversations, averaging about once a month. But I just appreciate any support that I get. I am looking to kind of grow. And so I am now seeking sponsorship opportunities, and I'm calling her the sponsorship opportunities. If you are looking for a powerful way to get your brand in front of others and other women, High Heels and Lipstick Conversation is opening the door for exclusive sponsorship opportunities. And I would love to partner with you. So if you are looking for that, you would like to promote your business, promote your brand, come on to High Heels and Lipstick Conversation, DM me or email me and let's talk. If you would like to sponsor, we are offering some sponsorship packages. And so I would love to partner with you and for you to be a part of the brand. Also, I'll be remiss. I'm in what I call the booth. I'm back to writing, making a second edition of one of the books that I shared with you last week. Last year or year before last, lipstick affirmations and words of wisdom every grown ass woman needs to know. So I'm working on a second edition. So just kind of modernizing my writing, but you could still get the first edition because the second edition is built upon a lot of wisdom that is shared in the first edition. So that is lipstick affirmations, words of wisdom every grown ass woman needs to know. You can get your copy via Amazon. Type in my name, Namia Carnice, and it'll pop right up for you. Or you can visit my website, namiacarnice.com, and it'll come up for you. You can just peruse my website and how you can purchase the book, The Words of Wisdom, Lipstick Affirmations, Words of Wisdom, Every Grown Ass Woman. Words of wisdom every grown ass woman needs to know will come right up for you. Also, my first book that I self published was Seven Lessons for Her. You can also purchase that book as well. So, listen, I just thank you guys for being here on this evening. I always like to end with a little lipstick affirmation, something that you can take with you. And tonight is no different. So, this is just what I want to share as we give you smooches and we log off. For my ladies out there, I should have kind of started the conversation with saying that some of the conversation could be triggering, but we kept it pretty cool tonight. But if you have had experiences like I had experiences, sometimes it could be a little triggering. And so, what I always want you to remember, and this doesn't matter if you're man, a woman, boy, or girl. Remember that you are worthy of safe love, real protection, and a life that does not require survival mode. And so I just want you to meditate on that. You deserve love. You deserve to be safe. Don't ever let nobody tell you that you're not deserving of a good thing, a safe place, and real protection. You are deserving. So I just want to leave y'all with that. Thank you again for being a part of this conversation. Catch the replay, share it, all that good stuff. Subscribe if you are on YouTube. I would love for you to subscribe to the page. Help me to just kind of grow my brand. If these conversations are interesting to you, help your girl out. But Thank you again for being here on this evening, smooches. Until we see each other again. Oh, next month we're going to be focusing on women of wisdom. Next month is, Mother's Day and all that good stuff. So we're going to be talking about being a woman of wisdom in connection with the second edition of the book that I am working on. And so I think it's only good that I just kind of give you a little preview of some of the wisdom that is contained in the book that I am sharing with women. And so next month, we're going to talk about being a woman of wisdom. So please stay tuned to the page. Please subscribe, like, share so that you can know what's going on in the world of high heels and lipstick conversations. Again, thank you for this evening's smooches. Until I see you again.